Hi, I'm Robin Scherzer, and welcome to Robin's Stampin' Hood. Hi guys, welcome to Robin's Stampin' Hood and to my Advanced Fun Folds card. So we're going to do 3 cards today, and I know some of you out there have purchased the supplies from me. So I'll try to show you what you have and what you're supposed to do with them, and I'll let everybody else know how I've come about the cards that I've come about. So we're going to start with this first card, and it is called a triple layered double pop-up card, and I got the idea from Dawn Griffith. So we're going to use the flowering tulips and the windmill die that's in the mini catalog. So I'm just going to show you. So I'm sitting it down this way, but it would sit up like that on, somebody's table. And what I love about this is it fits in a regular size envelope. So it would fold up that way and then fold down this way. And then you would put it into a regular size envelope. So I love that. And look at the windmill. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love it. This is absolutely my favorite. But I am a tulip girl for sure. We had tons of tulips in our yard growing up. So I love the tulips, but this is the first card we're going to make. So really the only thing you're going to need beside the paper and the supplies that I have given you is you will need to have your own sentiment stamps. So I've given everybody who's gotten my supplies the circle dies cut out, and you're just gonna have to find a saying that will fit into this. So the only really ink color you'll need is Poppy Parade. So you can see there's no stamping on it. It's all the beautiful designer series paper that we currently have in the mini catalog. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, if you've ordered the supplies for me, you've gotten them in one of the Stampin' Up bags, and I layer by cards. So you can always kind of tell where, one card stops and the other starts. So what we want for the windmill card is this is one other card that we're going to do. So I'm going to set that aside. That's another card. So usually I put the biggest piece at the bottom and then build my way up. So these will be the supplies you will need for the windmill card. Now, you don't have this one. This is Soft Suede, and this one is Poppy Parade. I've already gone ahead and die cut for you if you got the supplies from me. And I die cut out the windmill and I don't know, is that the windmill blades? Is that what you would call that? And then this was the Poppy Parade, and then the little outline of the actual windmill. So I just need to pop out these little dots real quick. And so this is how you're going to put this together. So we're going to put this together and just kind of set it aside right now until we are ready to do the finished product. But all I did is, because there's so many fine details there, I'm going to put some glue here and here and along any place that has a little bit of thickness to it. And I'm just going to hit it on little spots along the corner to hold it down when I put it down. So you don't have to put glue on everything, but then it's going to layer right on top of the Poppy Parade form. Oops, you gotta make sure that sticks down there. In your little bag of supplies, you would have also gotten a little brad. We sell these brads. They're round and square brads. We used to have tons of brads, and I was so glad to see these come back because we stopped selling them for a long. Okay, so I'm going to take my piercing pad and my piercing tool, and right where that little circle is right there, I'm just going to give it a poke, and then we're going to put our windmill together. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so cute. Look, I love that it moves. I just love when they're interactive like that. So I'm going to go ahead and use my brad. You don't want to glue this down because otherwise it won't rotate for you. So you're going to use your little brad and put it through. Now, what I have found is that the legs on these brads are too long. So I'm just going to take a scissors and snip them about halfway down. Here, those go flying. I'll have to make sure I don't step on them. And then I'm just going to fold it back here. Because what we'll do for the finished product is you will need to have dimensionals back here, and those would have been sticking off the end for when you want your little windmill to turn. Okay, so we're going to just set this aside because that will be the final piece when we're done with our card. Okay, you're going to need your score cutter, or you can use a scoreboard too. So you have lots of little bits and pieces here. So we're going to start with the scoring of this bigger piece. I'm going to get that out of our way for just a second. And I did include, if you purchase the supplies from me, I did include the measurements of the pieces of paper and what you should score at. So this piece is a 9 by 7/16. I'm sorry, it's 9 7/16 by 4 1/4. So we're going to score this. We're going to open up our score blade here. You have to go off to the side a little bit. And we're going to start to score it at 5 1/2. So we'll hit 5 1/2. Of course, that's your gray, right? So 5 1/2, 6 1/2, 7 1/2, and 8 1/2. Oops, a little more than that. Okay. And then on this other piece that you have, this is an 8 by 3 piece. You're just going to start scoring at 4 inches and do, excuse me, you're going to do 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and I'm going to get my score cutter out of the way here. So what you're going to do is you want to make sure that they're all nice and folded. And what I find to do the easiest, so I'm going to show you the side view of this so you can kind of see these are like little square boxes put together. All right. So what we want to do on both of these is we're going to fold them all up with where their score lines are. And we're going to put the little boxes together. So the easiest thing to do, what I found, is I'm folding that in half. And I'm going to put my glue on this last piece here. And then I'm just going to fold this right over. And then that will hit it exactly where it needs to be. So there you go. You got your little square there. Now, I would use glue on this. Don't use tape runners because tape runners tend to fall apart. And this is something that's going to be, you know, you're going to close it, open it, close it, open it. So you want to make sure that you've got a good, you know, seal on it. So on the second piece, you're going to do the exact same thing. Just, you know, get it. I don't know where my bone folder is. Otherwise, I'd be burnishing these. But I want you to give it a good burnish with your bone folder as well. So the same thing is you're going to put your glue on that bottom piece. So you're folding it in half, and then you're going to fold this over, and you'll have a perfect square like that. Okay, so that's probably the most difficult, is just doing that. So now we're going to go ahead and put our paper on. So on this smaller piece that you have, you're going to take your tulip paper, and this again is the paper from the mini catalog, and it's going to go on the back of this. So these pieces are done a little different. So this one, the paper goes on the back and it frames out. It should frame out for you, okay? And just give it a nice, And you can use your tape runner if you want, but I just prefer glue. Glue really holds it down. So on this piece then, now you have to decide. You should have 2 pieces of designer series paper. Now they might not be exactly what you see in my hands. There might be a different design, and that's fine. It's from the same paper, all the paper coordinates together. You just need to decide which one you want where. So if you look at the sample, you can see I have the tulips behind and then the polka dots on the last one. Now, you can see on the back, there's different designs as well. This kind of reminded me of clouds, so you might want to put that one behind as clouds. So it just depends. So I'm actually going to do that on this one since I have one that already looks like this, but you decide. You don't have to do exactly what I do. So this is the middle piece, and you should have a white piece if you've gotten the supplies from me, and it's going to frame out on that white piece like that. So let's go ahead and put that down. Even though I love the tulips, I'm just going to do something a little different, and you can do, again, whatever you want to with your creative license. So again, I'm just gonna lay that down like that. And then we have one piece left. So these are both exactly the same size, these pieces, but I will go ahead and I'm gonna use the polka dots because I do like the polka dots. And you're gonna lay this on the box piece that the bigger box piece that you have created on the front side instead of the back side like the other one. So they're kind of done differently. Okay, so you're going to do that. And then you should have, if you've gotten the supplies from me, you should have 2 strips of paper that are actually going to go on the bottom of your stand. So you can see on mine I have the bottom covered. And originally I thought, oh, I don't really need that because you're not going to see it. Because when you fold it down, now you would see it there, but what I have found is it does create a heavier base for you and will hold your card up a little better, because with the windmill, it kind of makes it a little heavy. So I do recommend putting these strips on just to help you with the weight of the base. So we're just going to do that. Throw that on real quick. Super easy. And then we're going to take this piece, and this is going to lay on top of here. But make sure, like, this is not a perfect square, so make sure you're laying it the right way. See how this is just a little bit bigger going that way? So you want to lay it right here and lay it along the score line. You don't want to lay it on top of the score line. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue right here. Like I said, this is probably my favorite. This is so cute with the windmill. I just love it. So I'm just going to hold that down for a second. And then on the base of this one, so again, you have to kind of look to see which one's going to be my base. When that sits like that. So this is going to be the base on this one. So the bases aren't exactly the same either. They're different panels. So don't try to copy exactly what you've done on the one thinking it's going to work on the other. So I'm going to do that. And then we'll let it sit for just a second to let it dry. You know what? I'm going to let that dry for just a second. And we'll go ahead and we're going to stamp our circle. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp this right in the middle there. Beautiful. And then we're just going to glue it to the black. And then before I put this all together, you could either somebody put theirs on the middle panel, or you can put it on the back panel. I think I will do it on the middle panel this time. That was kind of cute how she did that. I was kind of harassing her about it a little bit, and she did a great job just doing it on the middle panel right there. Okay. So now we're ready to finish the assembly. So keep in mind that this piece here should be sitting flush with this, the edge of this paper. So for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my glue right here. And then I'm going to lay it, well, let's make sure I'm going to do that right. We're going to lay it flush on here. And just kind of eyeball it where it's going to go right in the middle. And then I'm just going to flatten it just a little bit as I let the glue dry. And while we're waiting for that, so you can see it's popped up because it's so heavy. So I'm just going to hold it down there for a second. And then I'm actually grabbing my windmill now. And I'm going to take some dimensionals. And make sure that your leg of your brad doesn't hit the dimensional. So that's why I'm doing a little bit lower when I do this. And I'm using quite a few because I want it to hold up and stand up the way it should. Okay, all right, so that should hold it now. And then we're going to put this right toward the bottom as well. You don't want a floating windmill. Oops. So I'm going to put it right in the middle along that score line. So then I put it on dimensionals because I wanted this to easily turn. I didn't want the brad to be interfered with from the back. So then it should easily. I probably put my brad on a little too tight. So you want to use a little looseness to it. So I'm actually going to pull this up a little bit because we want it to easily turn. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So now our box should sit nice and flush. So I know it's hard to see in the film, but you can see where it's flush. And when you sit it down, it's going to have a nice... can you see that? There you go. The two different, so you could do it this way or this way, whatever works best for you. So that is our first project. Okay, guys, this is our second project, and this is called a pop-out fun card. Fun, right? Now, yours is probably going to look more like this sample. I had to use a different kind of paper because I ran out of this paper. So you'll get the idea, though, on where to put it and all that. So if you have gotten the supplies from me, I want you to take the Cinnamon Cider paper, which this is an 11 by 5 1/4. And we're going to score it the long ways. And I'm gonna pull out my little arm here because we'll need to extend it. Ooh, I'm having a little bit of an avalanche. Okay, so your first score is going to be at 1 3/4, and then 3 1/2, 5 1/4, and 7. Okay, and you can see all your little score lines. They should be pretty even. I want you then to, I'm going to close the arm on this because we don't need it to be open anymore, but we do need to use the cutter part of it. So with the score lines at the top and working from the top, I want you to bring your paper into 1 1/4, and you're going to bring your blade down to the very first score line. So that would have been the 1 3/4 score line. Now, I found that it was easier to stand up and do this so I could see directly above what I'm doing. So I'm going to start it at that first score line, and I'm going to bring it past the second score line to the third score line. So I've just cut a slit there, and there you can see what I've done. Now I'm going to flip it and do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm putting my edge up to 1 1/4, and then I'm bringing my blade to that first score line and bringing it all the way down. and that creates your pop-up card. So those would go in and this would pop up. Fun, right? So let's go ahead while we have our scorer out. We're going to do the paper. So you will have a 6x6 piece of paper if you've done it with me. You're going to cut off 1 inch. And then you're going to take that piece and cut it at 1.5. So you should have, you're going to use the whole piece, cut it at 1.5, and you'll end up with 4 pieces. Okay, and then with this piece again, going the 6-inch route, you want to cut 2 strips at 1.5. 1.5 and 1.5. And again, your paper might be a little different than mine if you got the supplies from me, and that's okay. So we're going to set that aside. And then you're going to cut 2 more pieces at 1/2 inch. I'm doing it from the other side just because it's easier to hold your paper that way. Okay, and then I'm taking these 2 strips. I'm just going to put them together so they're even together, and I'm going to cut them at 3 3/4. And then these little end pieces can be thrown away or recycled. And then the last piece that we're going to cut is 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. Oops, that's 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. Beautiful. And then you should have 2 pieces left, and you can recycle them or do whatever your heart desires with them. So we're going to put those aside, and let's start to assemble this fun card. So if you got the supplies from me, you should have also gotten this white piece, which is 7.5 by 5 inches, and I have scored it at 3 3/4, or just directly down the middle. That's all you really need to do. So we're going to start there. I'm just going to fold that and give it a little burnish. And these thin little strips that you first did, I'm going to, oh, we got some stray paperwork in here. We're going to just put it across the top. We're going to make it a little decorative for this card. This is like a card within a card. So just put a little glue on it. If my glue will come out. Right, come out wherever you are. And then we'll put this across the top here. Now, if you have paper that you're using that has designs on it that go just one way, you want to try to be a little bit more conscious of that with the bigger strips of paper. And I'll show you what I mean when we go put this on. But this paper is kind of going in all different directions, so that's good too. Okay, so this was our one that we just cut, right? Just so much fun. I'm just going to give it some burnishing and getting it nice and ready to go for us. So I'm going to make sure my folds are going the right way. So it will fold this way. So you want this piece kind of sticking out into the card. Okay. So then we're going to take our bigger pieces and we're going to layer them on those sides there. So just like this. Okay. And like I said, this paper's kind of got a lot of little stuff going on. I suppose it could be going one way, but for me, I don't care. I just want it to be kind of a fun little interactive, because the bees are kind of flying everywhere, right? Right. Okay. So that's your first part of it. And then these little 4 pieces, they are going to go right here into here. Now, if you only wanted to do, like on my sample, I only did 2, which I thought it looked nicer. But I think because now I'm using different paper, I'm going to use all 4 and put those into these areas right here. So it should frame it out, right? And then we're going to take this white card And we're going to put it on the inside here. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and do a little stamping with it. And I'm actually using a new stamp set that's in the mini catalog called the Honeybee Home. It's such a pretty, like, just nature-y. I really love it. Okay, so I'm going to take some Memento along with the longer flower, and I'm going to stamp the inside of the card. And I probably should have done this before I put my paper on, only because if I mess it up, then I couldn't flip my paper over because I already have my things on it, but that's okay. And then I'm going to use the pale Papaya to give it a little color along with the soft Succulent. So I'm just going to do real quick. It's not going to be perfect. It's just to give it a little bit of color on the inside. Again, this is pale Papaya. And that was one of the colors that goes with this paper that I'm using. All right, and I'm just going to take the soft Succulent for the leaves. Again, just giving it a little bit of color there. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and we will glue this down. And that's going to go right here in the middle. Okay. I'm just holding it down to get it nice and where it needs to be. Okay. We're not done with this yet. We're going to take this garden green cardstock and we're going to glue this on top of it. And then this will fit nicely into an envelope. So you just, again, you're going to kind of frame it out. Make sure all your sides are matching. And they do appear to be. Okay, part of your supplies. So we'll set that aside to finish it in a second. So part of your supplies, you would have gotten some garden green pieces, and this garden green, I believe, well, we would have cut this to, we would have cut this to 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. So this is 2 1/2 by 1 1/2. So we're just going to layer that on top of it. And again, you can use any stamp set you want. This, we all have flowers, so I'm sure you can easily find a flower stamp set if you don't have this particular stamp set, or you can go on my website, of course, and you can order it. And then I'm going to lay this piece right here. It gives it just a little bit of color. And you know, if I was thinking, I probably should have done some more green for me. I gave everybody paper that was, you know, coordinating with that. So it wasn't quite as flush with this, if you will. Okay, and to finish off the card, you would have gotten, if you bought the supplies from me, you would have gotten a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 white piece of paper. I do say check that measurement. So this should be 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 because I did find that I did cut some of them 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. So make sure you do check your papers that they got cut the right way. So I've gone ahead and I've stamped and I've decorated with the flowers from the honeybee set. So I just took these flowers there and took the Stay Wonderful, and we're going to put that on the center of this 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 garden green cardstock. That's where I think I might have gotten a little confused when I was cutting things. I did everything at 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 instead of the white, what the white should have been. Now this is where I want you to be careful putting this on. So you want it to frame out with this piece here. So you're going to lay this right in the middle so it frames out with the Cinnamon Cider coming along this way and then going over your designer series paper. So that's how that should look. And then you have this really fun card. And you could stamp something here if you wanted to. And then, of course, you can write on the inside of the card. So there you go. There is your second card. And like I said, you won't have this designer series paper. You'll most likely have a designer series paper that is more like this, where when you frame it out, the Cinnamon Cider is a little bit different. So you can see that. So there you go. That's your second card. Okay, guys, so this is the third and final fun fold card, and it's called a pop and a twist card. So here it is. Let's see. It's going to pop up and twist open. Kind of fun, right? Now, you might have to play a little bit with it when you go to close it. You have to kind of help it turn just a little bit, but then if you do it, it'll pop right back up. So fun, fun. So I'm going to show you how to do this. It's pretty easy. I've done all the stamping ahead of time because, again, you're going to use whatever stamp set that you want to use. I actually used this new stamp set that is in the mini catalog, Hello Beautiful with the Beautiful Shapes. And I used these circles with the windmill card when we stamped just that one sentiment on it. So that is a new set that's in the new catalog. And then I also used the abstract paper from the mini catalog. It's the Abstract Beauty. It's a 4x6 paper. It is so fun and pretty. It's got all the little gold things. So you will definitely like this. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, so like I said, I did some stamping ahead, and this is going to be a thank you card for me. And I did a little, this is some of the abstract stuff that's in there. So for me, the thing is knowing that when I lay this out, I want to make sure it says, first of all, you're amazing and thank you. But again, you could do whatever you want. You could do a birthday card, a congratulations card, whatever, happy retirement. So I'm going to set these aside, but actually, you know what? I was going to finish doing one more little stamp on here that I hadn't done. So because of the beauty of this card, the beautiful friendship part of the card, I was trying to match up some of the colors with the paper, and I just really like the abstract stuff. And this is Blushing Bride, but I'm just gonna stamp off a little bit because I thought it was a little too dark on my other card. So stamping off just sometimes makes it look just a little bit better. So those are going to be my 4 panels, and this is going to be my inside card. So I wanted to just do a little abstract piece there too. Like you can see here, I actually didn't stamp off on that, but I think I need to. So we're gonna take the garden, or not the garden green, this is Just Jade, and I'm gonna stamp off. You know, I didn't get a very good image, so we're gonna do that one more time. Stamp off, just stamp off to the side there. And then they have these fun little dotty things. Oops, I don't want to do it in that color though. I want to do it in Misty Moonlight. And just kind of, just to give it a little interest when they open up the card. Okay, that's all you're doing. All right, so let's put this together and do our scoring. Again, if you got supplies from me, you're going to have some of these things already pre-done for you. On the front of the card, you can see I've used the Daisy Punch. So this is Magenta Madness with the large Daisy Punch. And you're going to punch out 2 pieces. But again, if you have supplies from me, you should have gotten these in your little bag of supplies. So we're going to do 2 of those, and then we're going to punch out 1 of the crushed curry to just put it right in the middle. Fun, fun. And the best way to do this that I have found is I like to use glue dots. So I'm just going to touch my glue dot to the daisy and pull it up, and it's on Now it's on there. And you want to offset your daisy so it fills in the blank spots of your daisy. And I don't think I have any glue dots left on this piece, so I'm going to grab some more. Oops, I might be out of glue dots. Nope, there they are. I'm like, where? They're not in the box. So glue dots changed the way they did this. So I find it easier now to tear a little piece off and then deal with it that way. And then I'm putting another glue dot there and just right in the middle. And then one of the gems that we sell in the main catalog is the Elegant Faceted Gems. So you should have gotten this in your supplies as well. I'm just going to put it right in the middle to give the daisy a little bit of a centerpiece there. So that should be good there. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to get some of this stuff out of the way so we don't have all these little parts and pieces laying around. We can get it done a little quicker. So also with your supplies, if you've ordered them from me, you should have gotten 4 pieces of Just Jade. And these are, I'm going to tell you wrong probably. These are 2... Oh, you know what? I think I wrote it wrong on my... Oh, no, I didn't. These are 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 by 2 1/4. And then these white pieces are 2 1/2 by 2. Gosh. Whew. Okay. So they're just going to frame out on their Just Jade piece. So those are your 4 pieces that are in the pop-up mechanism here. Okay, I'm going to set that aside just for a second here. Okay. All right, so let's put those aside, and we're going to put that aside for a second. So the base of your card is just a Night of Navy, and this is 4 1/4 by 11. And you're just going to fold it in half, because this, again, will be your base. I'm going to give it some burnishing with my bone folder. And then I'm going to take this white piece that we just stamped and put that on the bottom. Okay, make sure it frames out. So we can set that one aside for a second. And then you should have gotten 2 pieces of the abstract paper. So these actually will layer on top here. But what I'm going to do is cut this piece down on the top of this. Well, actually, this is my bad one. I accidentally didn't cut the right side. So if you've gotten the supplies from me, make sure that you're cutting where the yellow is. And you're going to cut a 1/2 inch off of this piece. So just cut a 1/2 inch. So these pieces are actually 4 by 3. So that's 4 by 3 inches. Okay, so let's get the mechanism done and the pop-out part. So the mechanism is probably the weirdest part of it. So this piece is 8 inches by 3 inches, and you're going to score right down the middle at 1 1/2 inches. And then what you're going to have to do is at 2 1/2 inches, take a pencil, mark on this side and this side. So you're just making little hash marks. And then flip it around and do the same thing on the other side, because you're going to create an X in the middle. So you need those little hash marks. So I have the hash mark there and the hash mark there, and I want to run it along there so you can see I have that. Now we're going to flip it, and we have the hash mark there and the hash mark there. And we want to score that. So you can kind of see there's an X now in the middle of your paper. Excuse me, we're going to set that aside, and we're going to do the next, this is I'm sorry, this is 10 by 3, and you're gonna score it at 2.5 and 5. And instead of me opening up my cutter, I'm gonna just flip it around and do it at 2.5 on the other side. So these are 4 equal panels, and this is where we're gonna put our pieces that we stamped, our Just Jades. So we'll do that real quick. All right. So actually it's gonna, when we go to attach it, it's gonna be more like a tent. Okay, so let's do this. So we want to give good burnishing on all of our score lines. This was probably the hardest thing for me, is this. Oops, we're doing the same one, right? We want to make sure they, yep, all have. So this was probably the hardest thing for me, is getting this one to fold correctly. So what you're wanting to do is push the insides like that. So you're creating like a little tent. So you'll have like little legs. Flip it over, give it another little burnish. I think my video might have cut out a little bit before I finished this. So I had cut the strip of, this is that 1/2-inch strip, and then laid it across the top of the seam, and then put my daisy on with dimensionals. So now to put the mechanism on, you want to lay it here using glue. And you kind of want to center it right in the middle, but I'm just putting the point up to my white sheet because you don't want the bulkiness of it up against the score line. So I'm just going to press that close, let it sit for a second. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing on this piece and close the card. And this is going to be the little twisty mechanism. Super easy. Again, I'm just going to hold it closed for just a second to let it set. Okay. All right. So now you open it up and you have your mechanism in there. So the key to this is, again, here's our little panel that's going to pop, right? So when you go to put this on, we're going to do opposite corners. So I'm going to put glue here in this corner, and then I'm going to put glue in the opposite corner. Okay, you want to leave these 2 corners without glue, otherwise it won't pop. So you're just going to put this flush with the mechanism. Flush with the mechanism. Oops, you're gonna have to hold it down just a second here. And you're gonna have a tent popping up in the middle. So keep that in mind when you do this. You want this centerpiece to be popped up. Okay, so now I'm just gonna hold it down for just a second on the glue. I didn't get as flush as I would have liked it to be, but I'm just gonna hold it down here for a sec. All right, and you're just going to have to work it just a little bit to have it help twist when you go to close the card. You just have to kind of work it a little bit. See how I'm kind of forcing it to twist until it gets that memory of it. That's it. It's going to just, I'm going to hold it down just for a sec. And now it pops up So again, you gotta kind of see how I'm like twisting it just a little under, and it's going like that. So those are the cards, you guys. Super easy to make, a little bit more difficult than a normal fun fold, but still super easy to make, right? So there you go. These are the 3 projects. This was the windmill card that we made, called a triple layer double pop-up card, and I got the idea from Dawn Griffith. Again, I love my little hoo. And then this is a pop-out fun fold card, and I got that idea from Connie Stewart, I believe. And this one, I've seen this one years and years, forever and ever, but this is called a pop and twist card. And there you go. So those are our 3 advanced fun folds. And again, you just have to work it a little bit. There you go. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you need any supplies, please go to my website, robinscherzer.stampinup.net. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Happy stamping!